Design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design. Free sessions to blend within your budget line. Alright. From tiny seeds to trees so grand. Every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant. In every shade and room, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant. In every shade and room, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant. And every shade and room, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you, just for you. In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors blurs like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant. In every shade and room, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes. Design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design. Free sessions to blend within your budget line. Alright. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant.
Hello?
Yeah, and spring has finally hit Melbourne. We're finally starting to get a bit of beautiful, warm spring growing weather, and I notice all the plants. So it's been one of the coldest springs I've ever seen, and plants were all slow to take off. But I see things like jacarandas and things starting to move now that we're getting a little bit of warmer weather. So it's going to be a different look in Melbourne and in the garden from here on out.
All right, so welcome everybody to our Monday Q&A. We're ready, willing, and able to answer all of your gardening questions. So if you've got some burning gardening questions, pop them into the chat. We are live on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube today. And if you will be watching all of the chats on the various platforms today. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. As usual, we'll try to get through them all. So let me just have a quick look through. Have a quick look through and see if we've got some questions to start. Oh, great question. What type of plants are best for attracting ladybirds?
Ladybirds love aphids, so I'd expect anything that sort of attracted lots of little bugs for them to eat. So I reckon roses would be really good, because roses are a really good attractor. And your deciduous trees, like things like a silver birch, I often see ladybirds in the silver birches. So any of those things that are a little bit aphid, Japanese maple, all a little bit aphid prone, and that's what the ladybirds like to dine on.
Well, I've got a hot tip for you, Chris.
Yep.
Because I've studied these insects in our garden for quite a long time, because I made insect hotels and I was making films and taking photographs of all the insects that I was finding that were living in and around my insect hotels. And what I found was ladybirds and other types of things like hoverflies are very much attracted to the flowers of anything in the Apiaceae family. So if you let your carrots or your parsley or your coriander go to seed and produce their flowers and seeds, the flowers really attract things like ladybirds.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good. That's a good hint. Yeah.
And also,
So carrots, parsley, coriander.
Parsnip,
Right.
anything like that. Or in the ornamentals, then you've got your what are they? The name's lost me at the minute. You know that beautiful, lovely Amimagus
Right. Yeah.
and Visnaga, things like that. They're all in the Apiaceae family too, and they really like dill flowers, fennel flowers. They all fit into the same category.
One of the most amazing things I've seen is that I was in California lived in California for a little while, quite a few years ago, and I was going through my local nursery in springtime, and there was a beautiful little paper cup with a beautiful design of ladybirds all over the outside, and it was a cup of ladybirds. Anyway, it was ladybird pupae.
Yeah.
And I took it home and took the lid off and put it in the garden, and thousands of ladybirds poured out. It was
Excellent.
enough. It was a fantastic thing we should have in Australia, but there would have been like 2,000 ladybirds in it, enough to clean up the whole garden of bugs.
And they are voracious feeders of things like aphids, so
Yeah.
they're excellent to have. The other thing is too that some ladybirds, particularly here in Australia, are actually fungus eating ladybirds.
Right.
And so if you've got things like pumpkins, cucumbers, zucchinis, things that get a
Mildew.
mildew, a powdery mildew, they actually feed on the mildew.
Wow.
And they're beautiful ladybirds with black and yellow colourings on their backs.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, there we are. Ladybird education.
All right. So Melbourne City Tour TV says, "Hi, boss. How are you? Long time no see."
Melbourne.
Melbourne City Tour TV.
Oh, right.
Yep. So,
Cool. G'day.
g'day. So that's on. This is over on TikTok. Okay. So we have a question here. Native plants, part shade, no more than 2 meters high, and stays pretty compact.
Okay, my first thought there was hoop gardenia. My second thought was rhagodia, which is your creeping saltbush, and then any of your correas and your smaller growing correas, your correa reflexes, would all love that part shade.
Yes.
And stay with. So correa reflexa, creeping saltbush, and hoop gardenia love the shade and don't grow too big.
Beautiful, thank you so much. All right, so now Missy has joined us on TikTok. Hello, Missy. Missy says so many ladybirds in my silver birches last summer. They were everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. I often see them in the silver birch.
For Princess asks, can we plant tomatoes in small pots?
Only if you want small crops. But the answer is yes. But to get a decent crop, I'd go for a nice big pot and use a bit of lime and a bit of fertiliser in it, and plenty of water. But you know, if you put plenty of fertiliser in there and keep them well watered, maybe even have them in a saucer of water, you could grow a tomato in a fairly small pot. But you wouldn't get the big yield that you would in a big pot.
So I think, you know, as somebody who's grown tomatoes for a lot of years, there's a cultivar called Tom Thumb. And they call it Tom Thumb because not only does it produce small tomatoes, little cherry-sized tomatoes, it also is a very compact growing tomato, probably doesn't grow more than about 50 centimetres tall.
Right.
But produces very heavily, so...
Yeah, that's a good one. So Tom Thumb, and actually, do you know, it's a funny thing. We've got cherry tomatoes here. Cherry tomatoes are compact, good for a small pot. They're compact, and any customer that comes in at the moment and buys anything from 10 cents upwards, not that you can get anything here for 10 cents, but it gets their choice, either a Thai chili, if you've already got your tomatoes in, you can have a Thai chili, or if you haven't got your tomatoes in, a nice little cherry tomato. And cherry tomatoes are great because they are compact and they're fruiting quickly. It's not long from the time you plant them to the time you get your fruit. They're the fastest.
Do you ever roast your cherry tomatoes?
I have. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, the flavour is amazing. All right, so that's great. So that's a very good reason to get on down to Hello Plants at 1477 Sydney Road.
Every customer, your choice, free cherry tomato or free Thai chili right now.
Fantastic. You just keep those good deals rolling in, Chris. All right, so, okay, Beth has asked, full shade natives that have colour and that either being leaf or flower.
A cool shade.
So a full shade. Full shade. Yeah. So I think what you were on the right money. You were on the money with the correas before, because I mean correas range in colour from their flower colour from white to green and yellow and pink and red. And
you've got lots and lots of colours in your correas, and there's other things like you've got your there's some Dianellas that have sort of purpley red foliage. So there's some, that would give you a coloured leaf. Yep. And I believe your silver dichondra is even a native, and it could grow, and it gives you a lovely bright silver foliage and will grow in full shade. And my partner's been growing a lot of those native leeks. What's the proper name for a native leek?
Bulbine bulbosa.
Bulbine bulbosa, lovely bright yellow flowers, lovely green foliage, really, really nice, and loves the shade.
Excellent. All right, so...
and back to the old hoop gardenia.
Oh, yes.
Hoop gardenias, you can get them as a prostrate, and they love the shade.
Yep.
And they've got lovely, luscious green foliage, not sort of dry, miserable-looking foliage, and little bright yellow. They're dotted with little bright yellow flowers. So that's another great one for the shade.
Gardenia, love it. Okay, Stacey asks, any tips on how to keep a possum out of the garden? We have tried everything.
Have they tried a shotgun?
Oh, I would even ask, have you tried moving to a country that doesn't have possums?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing.
At the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show every year, all of the stalls that have plants on them are required now to be netted every night, because the possums come in and feast on everything over the night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, gee, it's obvious, because it's full of possums there. I thought they might evacuate all the possums while the show's on.
No, because you're not allowed to. All right, so Stacey, unfortunately, I don't think we really have any tips for that. I think there is a product, I think they call Pos Off, and I imagine that it's a quite a bitter tasting substance.
Yeah, well,
for the leaves.
neem. You'd have to spray it regularly, but neem oil is terrible flavour, and that could be in what the Pos Off consists of. But neem oil, you spray it on. The Indian farmers have been using it for years to get rid of nuisances and pests and things like that. You spray it on, and then they go next door and eat their stuff that doesn't taste so bad.
All right. Miso, g'day. Can we do blueberries near a rock wall, or are pots preferred? Also, which variety would you recommend?
look, any of the varieties of blueberries. Now the thing with blueberries is pretend that they're azaleas. What they like is they like acidic soil. So the simplest thing, we have an azalea and gardenia soil mix. You could dig some of that in, or you can get crushed pine bark, which is quite acidic, and mix that through, crushed fine pine bark and mix that through the soil and increase the acidity. Keep the water, they like good drainage, plenty of water and a little bit of fertilizer. But all of the blueberries on the market are all commercial varieties, and by putting a whole lot of different varieties in, you can have different fruits at different times.
Yeah, excellent. And I think just in terms of variety, I think it's good to know what do you like, and if you can have multiple different ones, then you can have a long succession.
Yeah, have a nice long season of blueberries, because that's what you want. You don't want a big crop all at once. You want blueberries every day for quite a few days.
Yeah. All right, so over on Facebook we've got Mike, who has asked, do you carry any arbutus? In my opinion, they're wonderful evergreen in my opinion.
Yeah, actually, Arbutus unido, I think it's a funny thing. Arbutus unido means they're poisonous, only eat one.
Ah.
And sometimes they call them the Irish strawberry tree.
Yeah.
And they produce this sort of large red strawberry-like fruit. And I did a video where I ate one. And most poisons work a bit like drugs when they're in small doses, and you can actually feel a sort of a slight drug effect coming from it. But I only ate one, so I didn't kill myself. And but I think that they're a great tree. They have lovely white flowers, beautiful red fruit, and they're a nice evergreen, and they're not too big. So I think. But remember, with your arbutus unido, when you see those red strawberries, only eat one.
Just one.
Yeah.
All right.
And I would say that a little one of them is a bit like drinking 3 cups of coffee at once. It'll give you a bit of a buzz, and I'd say if you ate lots of them, you'd be gone.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to steer clear of them.
Right.
To stick to strawberries. It's Me Danny has asked, what do you do with Trinidad Scorpion Butch tea peppers, because they are way too spicy to eat? And surely you've got a good answer here, Chris.
Well,
it's sitting on the trolley over there.
Oh, what do you do with them?
Yeah, well, get yourself a cooler one.
Yeah, I think, it's a funny thing. I had a little nursery in California for a while, and I had Mexican people working for me. And one day at morning tea, they gave me something that was a bit hot to eat, and they were expecting me to go like that, and I ate it and smiled. And then every day for morning tea, they gave me something a little bit hotter, and then eventually they got one of their relatives to bring in the hottest chili you can get from Mexico, and it came in wrapped up in brown paper, and they unwrapped it and they handed it to me like this. And I ate it, and geez, it was hot. But what I did was I stepped away and walked away, so they never saw me choking or anything afterwards. But basically, the only thing you can do is chop them up unbelievably fine and use tiny amounts of it. And the little thing that I had an Indian girl working with me, and we were talking about cooking Indian food, and what she taught me is she said that the Indian people always fry their spices in oil and then mix that oil through their food, whereas I'd always gone for the chili direct, which in the food, and you tend to not get a good even lot of the chili in. But I found with her method of frying the chili in oil, you can, and then if you just use a bit of that hot one, a tiny bit, fry it in oil, then it spread nicely through what you're doing.
And I would say too, it's really good to avoid the seeds. If you've got a chili that's too hot for you, then definitely don't include the seeds in anything you're cooking, because that's only going to make it hotter. But I think it sounds like a good idea to actually just find a cooler chili that you can tolerate.
And if you came down to Hello and didn't matter what you spend, you can get a free Thai chili, which is a bit more milder.
Yes, good idea. And you only have to buy one thing. You can come down and get yourself a basil plant, and you can walk away with a lovely Thai chili.
Beautiful big Thai chili, about a $5 one, about that big.
They are good.
Yeah.
They are good.
In fact, we should get
a couple in.
One of our free cherry tomatoes and one of our free Thai chilies.
Mickey's onto it. All right, so Claudia asks, I'm after a flowering gum. How tall? Sorry. Okay, I'm after a flowering gum. How tall would $300 get me one? Like, we're after a flowering gum. Our budget is $300.
Okay, what you'd want is a grafted one.
Yeah.
And a lot of the grafted ones are miniature. Well, hang on now. Say you wanted a seedling one. For $300, you'd get one that was good 2 metre, nice tree. But that's going to take a few years to flower.
Yeah.
At $300, it's probably only going to be 1 to 1.2 metres for a grafted miniature one. But the beauty of the grafted miniature one is it would be flowering this summer. So the choice is grafted miniature around 1.2 metres, or a seedling one which will take a few years to flower, and that'll be probably up around 1.8 or 2 metres at $300.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that's very helpful. Okay.
Actually, just between this is, if you come into a low, buy a bag of potting mix, buy anything. The staff are giving your choice of a free cherry tomato or a free Thai chili, and these are both. You could put them into bigger pots or put them in the garden, and they'd be fruiting in no time.
Fantastic. They're a very good size.
Yeah.
For this time of year, they're a really good size, especially the chilies.
Yeah, they're just the right size to be in production quickly.
Yeah. All right. So we're on YouTube now. How do you like your tea? It says, hey Chris, we live in North Melbourne and have a small north-facing courtyard. Can you suggest a few quick-growing tree types for shade cover? So we're in a small courtyard.
Do you know, you can buy a fairly tall Japanese maple quite cheaply, and the great thing about a Japanese maple, and I'm not talking about one of the fancy grafter ones, but the plain green normal ones, and given adequate, and what it is that they then, without growing too big, would then spread beautifully very quickly, and give you start with a reasonable sized one, and like I think there you could probably get, if you spoke to me, you could probably get about a 2.5 metre 12-inch pot Japanese maple for $90, and that in no time at all that would give you a nice canopy without ultimately getting too big.
Yeah. So
that and Japanese maples, because a lot of trees can get really big for a courtyard. Japanese maples would be one of my favourite trees. Another tree that I would really go for in a courtyard would be an Acer globosum, which is a Norwegian maple, which is a ball on a stick maple. It's a grafted ball on a stick. And what's good about them is that we have them here with a 1.8 metre stem on them, and then the balls on top. So if you're barbecuing or hanging out with your mates out in the courtyard, and you put this in the middle, or not right up against the edge, you had it out in the middle, it would come out and make a lovely round ball, give you lots and lots of shelter, but still give you all the ground space in your area. So they're two that I could think of immediately, and I mean, if you came in, I could help you with more options. But my first thought would be a nice, cheap, tall 12-inch pot Japanese maple, or an Acer globosum, a little bit dearer, but really a very special tree for that situation.
All right, excellent. Okay, now Chris, this question represents the flavour of 2025. So the question is, best shade plants that are non-toxic to dogs.
Wow, best shade plants non-toxic to dogs.
Now, bearing in mind that you and I have decades of experience in horticulture, design, and the nursery trade, but we're not veterinary. We're not certified vets.
Yep.
So we certainly.
So something super duper hardy, fast growing, and you just have to Google and double check me on it. But I'm thinking of Black River birch.
Okay, Black River birch.
And I would tend to suspect that anything could eat them and they'd be fine. Could you Google and just check? We'll just
I'll
check
give
that.
it a
We'll come
Google
back
while
to
we're going.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on then to the next question, and we'll circle back to that when we've got an answer. Okay. So, JW Green 64 is on Instagram and says, Mum is 96 and was wondering if there is something that you could recommend as a knee-high plant that would fill a garden that's hardy, requiring little to no maintenance. The maintenance of a 96-year-old.
I reckon catmint comes to mind.
Catmint?
It comes to mind.
Yeah.
And And what could look nice if you were to mix, say, catmint and pink gaura together.
Yeah.
And would you add one more thing to, say you had a mix of catmint and pink gaura, that'd be lovely. Like imagine that right now with pink and blue flowers, sort of baby blue and baby pink flowers. And then would there be one more that you would add to that? Super low maintenance?
Super low maintenance.
How about like maybe a mirage?
No, I was just thinking about salvias.
Yeah, so how about a mirage salvia? And say you had pink and blue, you might go for a white mirage salvia, and that would make a white. So a white mirage salvia, that'll give you a bit more solid like that, a bit more sort of solid plant, and nice white flowers, and then you'd have a sort of a nice fluffy pink. You'd have a nice fluffy pink gaura and a lovely fluffy blue catmint. And I think if you put those three, they're all very economical plants to buy. If you put those three together, I think that'd really work.
Yep, and they're all the kinds of they're all the kinds of plants that will flower consistently year in, year out.
Yeah.
Yeah, very easy. All right, we've got an answer on the Black River birch. It is generally considered to be pet friendly because it is non-toxic to animals.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
Oh, but if you have saplings, you might need to protect them from gnawing animals like rabbits.
Yeah.
Because they might debark your tree and you'll be in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, rabbits and deer and kangaroos, and because they're highly edible.
Yes.
Yeah, so Black River birch, and Black River birch is the most underrated birch in the birch family. It has beautiful fluffy brown bark that as it peels reveals lovely smooth pale pink bark.
And sorry, I did just see that JW Green 64 did added to that they're 2 hours south of Sydney. So I think that's all
Black
all
River
relevant.
birch, fabulous.
Oh, sorry. I meant with the knee-high plants that are hardy. Yes, those ones are the catmint, the salvia.
So grab some of them, plant them with your mum, and send us a photo of your mum enjoying them next spring, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Love to see a photo of your mum out there with a knee-high perennial garden. And if you plant them now, you'll get a bit of a show this summer, but a fabulous show next spring.
Yeah. All right. So we've got here... Hi, sir. I admire your work and want to work in your nursery. How do you apply? Come in and see us.
Yeah. Well, you could pop in and see us. You could email in a resume.
Yeah.
So email in a resume and it'll go to our person that looks after employment. And what we're looking for, we're looking for sales staff at the moment. And when I say sales staff, people who can roll their sleeves up and really help customers like that. You'll find that we work hard. Like people come in here. Like Jody and I have just finished working with some migrants from Venezuela who are building a lovely garden, and we had worked out all their garden and worked out the whole plan for it and everything this morning. So we really do roll our sleeves up here and help the customers. So if you love plants and love working with people and helping them get the right result, that's the sort of person we're looking for here.
And I think too, this is a very busy place. So I think you've got to be somebody who enjoys being in, among lots of people, and it can be quite chaotic here at times and quite loud, kids screaming and dogs barking, but that's the environment we thrive in here.
Yeah, we're a very fast-moving, changing nursery. We would probably move in from the suppliers and out to customers. We'd actually 50,000 plants a week would come through here.
A week, yeah, for sure. I was going to say a year.
Yeah, 50,000 plants a week would come in and come out, which is many truckloads.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you have all sorts of things that you have to be. A lot of people think that they went to a nursery that they'd be kind of relaxing and in some special sort of bubble somewhere, but it's not like that at all. You're working. Yeah,
we work from the minute we get here until the minute we leave.
Yeah.
And now, if you want to email your resume, at the bottom of the chat, down there, Chris, if you go like this, down there.
Yeah.
Yep. There we've got our contact number, but we also have our email address. So you could email your resume through to that email, and that will get through to the HR person. So that's how you can apply. All right. So moving on, having another look down down just scrolling through the chats here. All right, Chris. This is a great question. So golf is on the radar. How deep should I dig out the new garden to plant herbs?
I reckon you want to go one standard shovel depth. So you might have to moisten your garden, or if you're in Melbourne, we've just had lots of rain this last week or so, maybe you don't have to moisten the garden, but put a shovel in all the way, then dig it out and flip it over and smash it up, and that would be really good for growing herbs.
Excellent.
And then add some compost and possibly a little bit of lime if you're in Melbourne, a bit of compost, a bit of lime, a bit of cow manure or something like that, and your herbs like it fairly rich.
Excellent. All right, now Louis asks, how deep does the soil need to be for natives and ground cover? For example, if I planted these in a low depth garden, would these survive?
Which are these?
Now, so I think natives and native plants, native
talking
shrubs.
About those ones we were talking about before.
No, different person. So
okay.
Okay, so Louis is saying instead of standard grass. So I think we're looking for lawn alternatives that are native.
Right, okay. Again, I say dig down a shovelful, turn it over, smash it up, maybe add a little bit more soil, but a shovelful of a full standard shovelful of dirt dug into the ground will get nearly anything going, unless it was a big tree.
Okay.
And then you'd want to go a bit deeper.
Now, we're jumping a little bit back and forward here, but when golfers on the radar asked how deep to dig out a new garden for planting herbs, they come back and just said that they're on the Gold Coast. So I would say Gold Coast, you probably have a little bit more sandy soil, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the Gold Coast, sandy soil, make sure you mix in plenty of good quality compost. Mushroom compost is great.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, I'll have a little flick around. Let's check out what's going on TikTok here. So let me see. All right, Sophie. Sophie has asked for flowers for full hot sun in a pot, please.
Geraniums are hard to beat.
Yes.
and if you had a big pot and you popped in a couple of seaside daisies around the geraniums, that would a nice red geranium, say, with beautiful little seaside daisies around, that would look great.
Yeah, agreed.
And that would love the hot sun. Both of those would love the hot sun.
And I think an important thing to note about geraniums is that don't just deadhead them. You want to give them a good cut back every now and again, and you can cut them quite hard back, and they'll just flush out with nice new big foliage.
Yeah.
And also give them a regular feed every 6 months. You want to be feeding those if you're going to keep them in pots. All right, so Bianca has asked, what potting mix is best for elephant ears? I just bought one yet and haven't changed the pot. So
I just use a good quality potting mix, like any sort of good premium potting mix.
Yeah.
And they love a bit of fertilizer, so a bit of Osmocote or one of your slow release fertilizer, and just any really good quality mix. I wouldn't go for anything sort of particularly fancy or special. So a good quality Devco mix. We have one here called Nature's Soil, but any really good quality mix.
Yeah, I like Nature's Soil one. It's very dark, so you can see that it's been very well composted, because some of the potting mixes that you can get on the market, like that one that you get down at that big warehouse down the road, I find that there's a lot of there's a lot of uncomposted material in there.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is very good for your plants.
No, well, what people don't realise is that I believe that the cost, if you got a colourful printed plastic bag and filled it even with industrial waste, to put that into to bag it, seal it, put it on a pallet, deliver it to a store, offer it for sale to the public, I'd say the cost is $5 or $6.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a $7 or $8 bag of potting mix, it's likely that there's something terrible in it, and it can't be that good.
No.
Because when I buy my potting mix for my production area, I buy it in 20 metre lots, and I
20
pay
cubic metres.
20 cubic metre lots, which is the cheapest way you could possibly buy it. But it's a good quality mix with fertiliser and everything in it, and I actually pay about 25 cents a litre.
Right.
So that means that if you're looking at a 20 litre bag, I'm paying, what would that be? I'm paying $4.50, and that's sort of wholesale without any markups or anything like that.
And without the bag.
And without the bag. So what you can work out from that, if it's top quality, it's got to be well over $10 to be any good, because under $10 they can't put the proper potting mix, because they can't buy those manufacturers can't buy the potting mix any cheaper than what I can.
Yeah. All right. So now I'm just going to remind everybody, if you're putting a question in the chat and you want advice about a plant, it's really helpful to us if we know where you are in the world or where you are in Australia, just so that we've got a bit of context and something to work with.
Yep.
Helps us to narrow down the options, because there are so many options we could present to you. All right, so Mum and Baby Aura, hi. Can you suggest a fast-growing hedge for a full sun backyard that gives a classic vibe?
Fast-growing hedge for a what sort of backyard?
It's a full sun.
Full sun backyard. Okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is box leaf privet. Now, box leaf privet, when it's well trimmed and well looked after, is almost indistinguishable from a distance by the average person from an English box. So it's got that classy look, and it will grow 1 metre in 1 year. You can buy nice little plants quite cheaply. It'll grow 1 metre in 1 year. I tend to plant 3 of them to the metre, but they are cheap. So 1 metre in 1 year and 2 metres in 2 years. And then in the 3rd year, you can get it looking really, you can get it up there, but then you get it really thick and bushy if it's well trimmed in the 3rd year. And people looking at it could think it's been there for 20 years. And so that's one of the best for a fast growing, classy looking hedge in full sun. So box leaf privet, what is it? It's undulatum. It's what's the proper name? Not Ligustrum undulatum is the proper name.
Yeah.
But we call it box leaf privet here, and it really is very fast, very reliable, and hard to kill. Like, very few people come back and say, well, I've got a hedge with this and a couple are missing, because it almost never happens.
Right.
So Ligustrum undulatum.
Okay, Ligustrum, that's very good. All right, so 123A on TikTok has asked, any idea to create okay, so I'm just going to, so I think what 123A is asking is for ideas for a hedging plant, something to give a native, create a native fence at the boundary between their place and their neighbour's place.
Right, okay. I wonder where they live.
Yeah, I do wonder where you live, and I'll just check and see if that's been added to the chat. Not yet, but we'll see. We'll see if that pops up. 123A, that's your question about fence screening plants.
Okay, something that would have a very broad application, like they do really, really well in southern Queensland, and they do equally as well down in Tasmania, would be your Callistemon slim, which is a form of Callistemon viminalis, and it's a densely, tightly branched callistemon that when it flowers so brightly that you can hardly see the foliage. The whole bush just turns red, but it's a tall, narrow-growing one, and that would grow in a wide variety of soil. It would take frost, it would take heat, it would take drought, it would take almost any type of soil, and you'd plant them about 1.2, 1.3 metres apart, and that would make a really neat hedge and be native and have very, very wide application and end up probably 3.5 metres, which would be, between a height that most people would like, and also be trimmable.
Yeah, that's good. Now, I'm just flicking back to Facebook for a second because Claudia asked us about the flowering gum, and Claudia has just asked how tall the grafted flowering gum would grow.
Look, there's a couple of different varieties, but I'd say 3 to 5 metres they're quite small growing trees, and I'd say 3 to 5 metres would be the normal range of them. The smallest one being an orange one seems to grow quite small, probably only around 2.5, 3 metre mark.
Yeah, fantastic. Still on Facebook, Diane Hidalgo has said, hello.
Hi, Diane.
And Kate King has said hi, Chris.
Hi, Kate.
All right. I'll just check on Instagram, see what we've got going on here. All right, no more questions on Instagram, but we've got tons on TikTok. Hi to everyone on TikTok. TikTok's just absolutely, it's jumping.
Yeah.
All right, so Peter Lamb. Pete has asked, why are my tomato leaves going yellow?
There's a wide variety of reasons, but most likely it's a nutrient-related problem.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would whip into it right now with a liquid fertilizer, something like a power feed, because you'll find that with a liquid fertilizer, what people don't realise is when you put a solid fertilizer, say you were to put Osmocote or Dynamic Lifter or something at the base, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks for it to go into the ground, into the root, up the stem, up to where the tomatoes and the leaves are. And in that time you need that plant to be growing. So I would go for a twice weekly dose of a good liquid fertilizer, and something like Power Feed would be excellent, but there's plenty of other good liquid fertilizers. A lot of people make the mistake. I don't believe that sea salt is a fertilizer. Sea salt is a fabulous plant tonic, but not really a food. So it's a little bit like having a herbal tea, and a herbal tea is great, but you wouldn't perhaps have it for dinner.
Yeah.
And so go with something with a bit of guts to it, like your Power Feed. Charlie Carp would be another one, and if you did it a couple of times a day, and what you would do is you'd do it early in the morning or in the evening when it's not windy or anything, so the evaporation rate is low, because what will happen is that while the droplets are sitting on the leaf, the leaf will be sucking them up, and within seconds they'll be working inside that plant.
Yeah.
So, but if you go out when it's hot and sunny and windy, and the droplets dry up in 15 seconds, that's how long they get the feed for, which isn't long enough.
Yeah, right. What I tend to do at home is I have a container of fish emulsion. I've got a container of seaweed solution, and then I've got an empty old container from my my fabric softener or whatever it was that I've washed out really well, and I actually do 50-50 of the seaweed and the fish emulsion into that, so then I just use a combination all the time, so I hit it from all angles.
Yeah, I've done that around the house years ago, and I loved it because it made me, we live well inland, and it made me feel like I was living in a fishing village. The whole place, a combination of seaweed and fish emulsion, and if you like the smell of a fishing village, there it is.
Well, it really does. When you do, once you've fed the garden, typically you stand back and think, it smells like the ocean here.
Yeah, so it can be quite, depending on what you like, it can be quite a pleasant experience. And actually, I'm glad Jodie brought that up, because I'd forgotten about doing that. I don't reckon you could beat a combination of fish emulsion and seaweed fertilizer.
Yeah.
I remember, actually, it's just a funny little story. When I was maybe 19 or 20 and I was working for my dad, and my dad had a nursery and an insurance brokerage, and he was working in his office, and it looked down on me, and I was like the field hand working in the fields there, and we had a big crop of birches that year, and Dad wanted me to put copper oxychloride on them once a week, which is a heavy metal thing, and I didn't have any protective gear, so it's quite dangerous, and he was from the old school where he didn't worry about the dangers of chemicals. And at any rate, so he'd look out and he'd be expecting me to use the watering can and put on this copper oxychloride once a week, and little did he know I was putting on Maxicrop, which was your seaweed fertilizer, and I did it religiously. He'd look out the office and, oh yeah, Chris is putting out that copper oxychloride, and I was putting out Maxicrop. And I remember at the end of the year, it was the best crop of birches we ever had. No copper oxychloride, lots of Maxicrop, and what he was trying to get rid of was the birch rust, which can get into it. But we didn't, with the Maxicrop there, we didn't have an attack of the birch rust.
Yeah.
And we had a fabulous crop. And my dad said at the end of the year, he said, "Geez, I'm glad I made you put that copper oxychloride on every week." And I said, "Yeah, sure."
I love it.
So some of those organic things can actually help you overcome problems that that people are using chemical sprays for.
Yes, yep. And I think too, with the fish emulsion seaweed solution, it really helps to build the cell walls within the within the plant, which only makes your plant stronger. All right, so Miso has said, just would like to point out your alyssum reel. So easy to grow in my rock wall. Please keep them coming.
Yeah, cool. We'll do that. We'll make another few. We've got a few nice videos planned for this week.
Yeah. All right. So Pete's back. Why are my fig leaves drying and flopping down after repotting it? So repotting the fig, and then the leaves are drooping.
It sounds like you may have damaged the roots, cut the roots.
Oh, it just stressed the plant out by shifting it.
Generally, when you would shift a plant and perhaps, disturb its roots, you would cut it back to prevent, reduce the amount of foliage on it by trimming it up to prevent that sort of wilting. So I would say you've probably, chopped or teased or done something with the roots, and you might need to give it a good trim and reduce the amount of foliage. And then I mentioned don't use sea salt as a fertilizer, but certainly when plants have been transplanted, when they've got shock, there's probably nothing better than sea salt. In the old days, there was a thing called Lane's Hormone 20, which I think was as good or better than sea salt, but it's off the market now, and sea salt is probably the best around.
Right, okay. All right, so moving over to Facebook, Sue has joined us and has asked, what would you plant with a passion fruit vine to cover the ground as a companion plant, or would you just use mulch?
Around fruit trees and things like that, I love prostrate rosemary because you can walk on it a bit.
Yep.
I think the smells and that from rosemary might discourage other insects and things like that. But I think it's an edible, and it's a nice thing to put as a ground cover around your edibles.
Excellent. All right.
And prostrate rosemary is an actual rosemary that most people may not know about it, but you can Google and look at it. It's called prostrate rosemary, and it grows flat on the ground and it'll cascade over embankments and things like that. In fact, I was out the other day doing a delivery, and I saw prostrate rosemary growing on a balcony, hanging more than a metre down from the balcony, and made the whole building look really nice.
Amazing. And I think we often refer to an image with our garden designs, which has got a prostrate rosemary cascading beautifully down a wall on one side and a cousin it on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And they look fantastic together.
Yeah, a nice combo.
All right. So we are on Instagram at the minute, and Boomer Kensington. This is excellent timing given what we were talking about just before. My yuzu tree that I just planted got yellow over the summer. I added some citrus feed, but it hasn't recovered. Any tips?
Do you know, my first tip is don't ever use citrus feed.
Yeah.
Because citrus feed, what it is in the fertiliser game, there's some people that make good products and there's other people who want to make a lot of money. And what they do is they get all the citrus feeds that I've seen are uncoated NPK fertiliser, and what happens, you get a big whack straight away, it dissolves and the tree has too much, and then after that it has not enough. So and a large number of customers who've come in here with dead trees applied, a few weeks beforehand, applied some citrus feed on it. If you want, around my citrus, compost, you can't beat compost. You absolutely can't beat, and good quality compost from the house, from the kitchen is really, really good. And then aside from that, I like, your Osmocote, your NutriCote, your coated fertilisers. And another funny little story with my dad. I remember visiting his beach house one time, and out the back was the biggest, best lemon tree I've seen in my entire life. It was unbelievable, covered in lemons, beautiful foliage, enormous, young. It was incredible. And I said, that tree's amazing. He said, yeah. He said, one of the boys, when we were working here getting the garden going, he said he spilled a whole bag of Osmocote right there. And not that you want to get, there's a 25 kilo bag.
Oh, wow.
And not that you want to do that, but it just shows that the slow release fertiliser really. So compost is your number one food, and Osmocote is your number two. Never use that uncoated sort of powdery kind of stuff that they call citrus mix. It can kill your tree, but at best it won't help your tree.
So, because once a year in autumn, I give all my citrus trees a tonic. It's just like a yearly. It's just one annual dose of things that I give the citrus that are designed to just keep it going. You know, get it through that period where it's been feeding, it's going into a growth period. So I give per 9 litre bucket, I do 15 mils of fish emulsion, 15 mils of seaweed solution, and one dose, so one 9 litre bucket dose of trace elements. Because that means it's got all of the trace elements it needs to feed on to get it through the next big growth period.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so we have got, we'll go head back to Instagram, sorry, JenGirl65. What is a great plant for full shade?
A great plant for full shade. One of my favourites, and I might just run and grab you one. I was looking at them this morning. I think, wow, these are lovely. Just be a sec.
Well,
you could talk for a minute. Tell them something.
I'm going to give my 5 cents worth. I mean, tractor seats are pretty common. Pretty sought after plant right now. They'll do very well in full shade. But I tell you what, for me, you can't go past aspidistra. There's so many different types of aspidistras.
Yeah, you can get some nice aspidistras, but check this out. This leaves your aspidistras for dead. Look at this.
Beautiful.
A cuba. Now, what I love about...
That's a cuba, right?
Yeah,
ACUBA.
Yeah, what I love about a cuba japonica, I was brought up in the Dandenongs, and I think almost every old garden in the Dandenongs has one of these.
Yeah.
And the Dandenongs are full of tree ferns and shade and things like that. And what I love about a cuba is that most shady corners are a bit dull. And on a dull day, in a dull corner, life is real dull.
Yeah.
And what I love about your cuba is these lovely. This one here is called Gold Dust, and it's because it's got these lovely little golden dots on it. And I reckon that these brighten up a dull garden almost better than anything else. And I'll tell you a little story. This one here is actually a female acuba. And anyway, I used to, when I did deliveries and working in the hills years ago, like I've been in the nursery game for a couple of years, and anyway, years ago, there was 2 old blokes in Ferny Creek, and they had a nursery, and they had a big shade house for growing acuba in, and they grew this one here, the Gold Dust acuba, but round the edge of it, they had a hedge of the male acuba.
Right.
Round the edge, and what they would do is they would grow their acubas up about 1 metre tall, and the male acubas would fertilise them, and they'd be covered in the most beautiful red berries.
Oh.
And imagine these lovely green and gold leaves covered in red berries, and they would then truck them all off to some retailer in the city and sell the whole lot. And they were highly, highly sought after. They're the only people I've ever known to sell acubas with red berries. But if you have a male, if you go get yourself a male acuba, you can actually have yellow spots, green leaves, and red berries.
Nice one. I like it.
Yeah, so Cuba japonica Gold Dust, and I think that's my favourite shade plant. And I really, because I grew up with them, and everybody used to have one in the garden.
Yes. You know, I showed you a picture of my shady spot, in my garden, which is, you know, unusual. I'm out in the grassland, so it's taken me a long time to create this beautiful shade, and now I'm doing some good things with it. So I've been growing that Arthropodium Moonlight. Was it? Arthropodium Moon.
The variegated one.
The variegated one. Boy, howdy does it brighten up that dark area. It's really, and the funny thing is, in the moonlight, it reflects that white, white streaks through it. It's absolutely, and I know what it looks like in the moonlight because my cat and I sit in the window at night time and watch the bats coming in and out of our trees at this time of the year. But yeah, it's really bright. But you know, something else that's really good in shade that I don't think we use enough of here in the nursery, in our garden designs. I talked to you about this last week. Ferns. There's so many great ferns.
Yeah, that's right. And nice bright foliages on them,
Yeah. So definitely lots of ideas there.
One more thing about the acuba is that all the ladies up there when I was a kid would use this in their flower arrangements, and it's a great leaf for flower arrangements. It really, in the bottom of a flower arrangement, it really brightens up the flower. My mum was in the Horticulture Society up there, and at Ferny Creek, and they'd have competitions, flower arranging competitions, and this was always a popular addition to their flower arrangements.
Yeah. Now we're going to flick back to, sorry Chris, I'm just going to remind us that we've got 5 minutes until we're finished for the day.
Can we do 5 questions?
I reckon we could probably find 5 questions in 5 minutes.
Or maybe 6.5. We should try.
We'll start with Sue, who's on Facebook and had asked, when we were talking about the citrus feed before, there was a question that came in and Sue was asking what type of lemon tree it was, or maybe was asking what type of lemon tree you were talking about when you were talking about that great one that you found, that you had up in the hills.
Yeah, that was just a Lisbon lemon. Back in those days, everyone used to just grow Lisbon lemons.
Okay. Now, leading on from that, your recommendation when choosing a lemon in Victoria, you use one type of lemon if you're on one side of the Great Dividing Range and another type of lemon if you're on the other.
And that's not a casual thing. What it is I was going through an old uncle's books and things like that, and I found a little booklet put out in the 50s by the Victorian Agricultural Department, the Big Ag Department, and it was growing lemons in Victoria, and it gave all sorts of advice on growing lemons in Victoria, and it said, and this was for commercial growing of lemons in Victoria, and what it said north of the Divide grow Lisbon lemon, and south of the Divide grow Eureka lemon.
Right.
And what it is that your Lisbon lemon it's got a very thick pith on it, and it's quite thorny, quite nasty to pick, and it's a little bit seasonal. It tends to produce a lot of lemons at once and not have a good flow all year round. And your Eureka lemon, thinner skin, more juice, good flavour, no better flavour than the Lisbon, but good sour lemon flavour. But much less thorns, much more pleasant to work and pick and have around, and it's not as frost resistant. So in like north of the Divide, it's going to be more likely to be damaged by a bad frost. So that's why, and so the Department of Agriculture and basically south of the Divide we have a fairly coastal maritime type climate, and the Eureka, and so that's what they determined way back then, and I think it still holds true today.
Excellent. All right, very quick question. We had Alicia had asked where I've lost it. Hi Chris, I saw you giving away free chilies. Are they spicy?
Yes, spicy Thai chilies.
Beautiful.
But not crazy spicy, not sort of burn your insides out kind of spicy.
Fantastic. Back on Facebook, Sue has said, I'm planting a row of white standard roses. What would you plant under the roses with colours that are pink, purple, green, blue for summer, and then something that looks good when winter comes along?
Okay. Say, here's my favourite go-tos, which is not quite what you're saying, but I'm deviating slightly. What I've discovered is that a light blue under the white of the iceberg looks amazing. Somehow the icebergs look twice as icebergy, they look twice as good. And what I like to do is I'll plant either all blue convolvulus underneath, just a massive blue convolvulus, or I'll do a blue convolvulus under each iceberg rose, and then between each iceberg rose I'll do a catmint.
Yep.
And that light blue of the catmint and that light, and the thing is that blue convolvulus flowers almost the identical time your icebergs flower. So your blue convolvulus will start flowering in middle of October, and it'll flower through to the end of May, which is when your icebergs are really performing, and so you get that fabulous. And for some reason, the blue convolvulus don't seem to compete with the white iceberg.
Yep.
But if I was going for a combo, it's very hard to get a good winter flower that's not too tall. So you don't want anything too tall. But other things that you could put under there to get a pink under there, I love the dwarf pink Gara.
Yes.
And that would make a lovely combo. You could have a blue convolvulus under each iceberg rose, and then a dwarf pink Gara between each iceberg rose, and that could make a beautiful combo. And that kind of exhausts my sort of flowery combos with the icebergs, I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Very good. So Pete Lamb said thank you very much for the advice that we've been giving him today about his fig leaves and also his the tomato leaves going yellow.
No worries, mate.
But he asks, do we sell locust trees?
I reckon there's none in stock at the moment, but we do have them from time to time, and I'm sure if you spoke to my staff, they would locate a loquat for you.
So if you give us a call on the number that's underneath this, underneath Chris on the screen, then he'll be able to, we'll be able to do what we call a P&A for you, which is a special order.
Yeah.
And we'll track that down. So thanks, Pete says thank you.
No worries. And let's just talk about loquats for a minute.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is that the loquat trees on the north side of Melbourne are almost ripe. They're at a point where they're a bit twangy, but you could still eat them. And I think that's what's great about loquats. Most of your stone fruits aren't going to come until Christmas or after Christmas. We're still a month before Christmas, and I'd say in the next week or so your loquats around Melbourne will be perfect. So if you want a really nice fruit in the garden, and the loquat tree is evergreen, it's a really attractive tree. If it never had fruit, it would still, it could live as an ornamental in your garden.
Yeah.
So it's an attractive ornamental tree, or an attractive fruit tree with ornamental value, and it fruits before anything else. So it'll be the first fruit you're eating off the tree for the year. Mm-hmm. It sort of comes in with your mulberries, really. So first fruit of the year. And if you're going to compare, a lot of people probably haven't eaten a loquat, but if you're going to compare a loquat to other fruits, it's most similar, I think, to an apricot.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like saying somewhere between a pear and an apricot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think a very worthwhile tree in the garden.
Oh, definitely. And you know that you can use the leaves. The Chinese use the leaves of the loquat. They ferment the leaves down and use it as a cough syrup.
Wow.
And I use it on the regular. If ever I get a chest infection, and I unfortunately very often do, it clears phlegm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's excellent. All right, so very quick, we're just getting down to the wire now. So, Nanny says, my mum grew up in Jenbrook on a son's dairy farm, and they had some of those Akuba bushes.
Very much a hills thing, yeah.
Isn't it? Yes. And Grace 3333 AU has said, what could I grow to replace my 30-year-old lavender that's low maintenance? Well, first of all, let's just acknowledge the 30 years out of the lavender.
30 years out of a lavender is incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah. I'd buy a tax ticket, I reckon.
Yeah.
I've got 30 years out of my lavender.
Must have been, I don't know if it was a brilliant nurseryman or your brilliant soil.
Yeah. But okay, so rosemary does most of the things that lavender does, and does it permanently. It'll last longer than 30 years. And there's some nice ones around, you know, like Tuscan Blue.
Yep.
So you can get, if you look up rosemary, there's some really nice rosemaries on the market, and that's what comes to my mind. Or the other thing that you could use is a Westringia hedge, and I think that would, something like, there's one there called Naringa.
Oh, yes, yep.
And so if you used a Westringia, and if you managed it, like if you kept it trimmed regularly, I think that would last indefinitely.
Fantastic. All right, last question. So we're going over to Instagram now, and we've got Lemon. Hi Chris, what are your tips on creating Japanese box topiary from young? I planted them in July and they are started to leaf out a lot now. I brought them as 6-inch pots from you.
Wow. What are they, Japanese?
Japanese box.
Japanese box?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay.
To make topiary.
To make topiary. Well, the thing is just start trimming them. Like start looking at that shape you want. Like a lot of people do Japanese box into a big ball. A Japanese box tend to head up too tall. So the first thing you do is probably take the top off and get them to fatten up a little bit. And the thing with Japanese boxes, don't cut them too hard. You can almost talk to a Japanese box. What happens, they have long shoots on them, right?
Yeah.
And you take the tip off that long shoot and they'll bush underneath. So a lot of people, when they're trying to make topiary, they're cutting too hard into it. And they're overlooking the fact that if you just take the tip off, you can bush it up and bring the sort of outside of it out.
Right. Okay, that's an excellent tip. All right, so we have gotten to the end of our Q&A session today for another week. But there is a bit of another opportunity in the week, and that's on Friday when we go live at 12 p.m. for our flash sale, our Growers Direct flash sale. Now, how's the Growers Direct flash sale coming along this week, Chris?
It's going to be an exciting week. There's some new products coming in here. You're going to see the best deal on the planet on a weeping red maple.
Ooh.
And
I've seen a few here.
Now, if you are after a forest pansies, most nurseries will tell you they're out of them. And we're going to have the best deal you've ever seen on forest pansies. Now, forest pansies, fabulous purple bush, or a small tree, pink blossom in spring, purple foliage, and a kaleidoscope of colour in the autumn. One of the most sought after trees on the market.
Yeah.
We've had terrible trouble getting them, and we just have managed to pick up a nice batch of them from a supplier recently. And so we're going to have, and that's just two items only. We're going to have some great deals this week.
And we have over 100 items every week.
Yeah.
Chris works very hard when he's not streaming live, out with the growers, trying to work on some really good deals for the flash sale.
Rustling up some deals.
Fantastic. So do join us at Friday, 12 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And we will field some questions as we go along in that, no doubt.
Yeah, we can field some questions. But the great thing is what we do is we have 100 bargains with the Grower Direct Flash Sale. And I talk you through them because my idea with that is that I want people to be able to do their gardening project on the cheap. So this is the way that, you might have some grandkids or some kids or something like that, or parents who have relocated and they've got to get the garden right. And often when people do a big real estate transaction, they've got no money left afterwards, and so they've got to do it on the cheap. And at our Grower Direct Flash Sale is where you can get to put, with that 100 plants, there'll be hedging plants, there'll be ground covers, there'll be fruit trees, there'll be every sort of plant that you could possibly think of, and they'll be there at a really great deal. And we deliver over most of Victoria for free when you spend over $300.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us again, everybody. Thanks for putting your questions in all of those chats. We look forward to seeing you again on Friday.